Do you remember the night we met?
You have been witness to the unspeakable horrors of the defendant's heinous crimes.
The killings were extremely wicked, shockingly evil, vile.
Did you do these things, Ted?
This is all gonna end.
It's only gonna end with the truth.
Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile is the latest film to tackle the story of the serial killer Ted Bundy and was directed by John Berlinger that follows his Netflix documentary Conversations with a Killer, which was also about Ted Bundy. And in this film, Ted Bundy is portrayed by the high school heartthrob himself, Zac Efron. Before I get into my thoughts, I just really wanted to say that. Before I get into my thoughts on the film, I do want to throw out my normal disclaimer for those of the uninitiated. So, the way that I convey my thoughts on a video, or on a movie, is that I break it down into a pro and con list. This personally for me, it's the best way to, to catalog everything that I found good or bad in a movie. And while I try to keep the sections separate, hey, if I can, make a pro and con work off of each other, or maybe if they're intrinsically tied to one another, then I'll do that. I have fun with it. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you're not already a subscriber, it really helps out the channel. Okay. There's your disclaimer and reminder to subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into my review of Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. It took me a while to get to this movie because I honestly didn't give myself enough time to watch it until now, or fairly recently. I really need to stop doing that, but I'm a creature of habit, so I probably won't end up doing it. But anyway, I'm going to start with this one. And I hate to say this early on because we haven't talked about any other characters, and I'd just rather start with the only pro in this movie because, I did that with The Intruder, where I did every single con and then the one pro, and I don't know, it kind of drained me just a little bit, but hell, maybe it'll be a little bit better doing it this way. But there's only one three-dimensional character in this movie, and that's Ted Bundy himself. Zac Efron gives a career-best performance in this role as the notorious serial killer. He's obviously having fun playing this man who's likable and charming, just like Zac Efron seems to be in real life, and just how the real Ted Bundy was. And he also displays the goofy and manic nature of Bundy. Efron found a way to balance the idea of who Ted Bundy was with who they wanted him to come across with in the film, which is honestly how Bundy was. He had that bit of charm, and to most people, you could see bits of insanity peeking through, and Efron is, from appearance and sound, what many would not consider to be a serial killer, and yet it is pretty... Give me a second, I had a brain fart. Yet it is all the more true. And like I said, that's the only pro, so let's get into the cons. The film is primarily focused on the point of view of Elizabeth Kendall, who's played by Lily Collins. Kendall, or Cloakfur in the original, or no, not the original, in real life. I think that's how you pronounce her name. They changed her name in the movie for some reason, but Kendall, let's use her name in the movie, was the ex-girlfriend slash fiance of Bundy, and I will admit that on the surface, the concept of focusing on the chain of events from the eyes of someone close to Bundy is interesting, I will give them that, but emphasizing on this viewpoint kind of gives the film a Lifetime channel feel. You know, those jokes that many people make about Lifetime movies, how they only make a couple of different plots for their movies. This one definitely falls under the, oh my god, a woman is shocked to discover a horrible secret about the man that she's involved with category. And tied to that, the film sets us up to expect that we will mostly get that POV with Kendall, but then the film's focus becomes torn between Kendall and Bundy, and it just bounces clumsily between the two. Kendall's focus being on her romance with Bundy, which is sped through her continued hope for him and later efforts to move on, while the film also tries to or attempts to focus on chronicalizing Bundy's time in prison, his kooky behavior while he acts as his own attorney, and his relationship with Carol Boone. And when the film begins to focus more on Bundy, Kendall just becomes more and more of an afterthought in the film's eyes, becoming a stock character that you forget about for a little bit until she shows up again. The film is just way too unfocused with this narrative in one way or another, or it just doesn't work. Another way that they try to do something different in tackling Ted Bundy, yeah, and not from a performance standpoint, but pretty much every other standpoint. Right until the very end, we are encouraged to believe that Ted Bundy may actually be innocent, and the fact that we never get any sort of violence shown until, again, the very end in a flashback only assists in driving home this idea. If I didn't know anything about this movie, or the subject material, or even who Ted Bundy was, I would have believed that this was an innocent man who was really being set up, and who possibly had just the shittiest luck. And it especially because early on there's a scene where he's talking to Kendall, and he's saying, "Oh, you see that out there? That's a car." Why did I say that like that? No, that car has been following me ever since Colorado. I don't know what the hell is going on. And as a person who understands at least a little bit about who Bundy is, I thought, okay, that's just him twisting emotions, trying to look more sympathetic to his girlfriend. Okay, I get it. But then we find out only a few minutes later in the film that there was indeed a car following him, and that car is never hinted towards or mentioned ever again. And with this focus on Bundy as a potential innocent with really bad luck and timing, and maybe even bad judgment, I see the reasoning and I understand it. Maybe the filmmakers wanted to get us into that mindset, similar to many people back then who actually thought that he could be innocent, but sadly the film falters when it showcases that every man who shows up strictly believes that he's guilty, and pretty much every woman who shows up either thinks he's innocent and doesn't look like a criminal, or they just want to fuck him. But mostly the latter, but also, yeah, most of them just want to fuck him. But anyway, it's especially insulting portraying every female that the camera focuses on that fits into the latter category. Now, Kendall does wise up by the end, but one slightly fresh apple does not mean the bunch is not spoiled. And those are my thoughts on Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. All in all, I think it was mostly a throwaway film that would normally have been forgotten had it not premiered on Netflix during the era of Netflix's celebrity monster craze, and also if it had not been for Zac Efron's frankly Oscar-worthy performance in this movie. I only really recommend it to you guys for his performance, and also, hell, maybe you'll get something out of the way that they try to tackle the story with him being a potential innocent. Also, if you are looking for a Ted Bundy movie that dives into the crimes and, you know, gets into the blood and the gore and who he was under his figurative mask, this is not the movie for you either. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't hesitate to hit that like button. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, especially if you haven't already at the start of the video, just to keep up to date with everything that's going on in the on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Farewell until the next video, all you casual moviegoers and movie fans alike, and keep on being awesome.